Welcome to the Behind the Tab podcast, where we dive deep into the evolving world of hospitality through the lens of technology, creativity, and community. Today, our guest is Andrew Coplon. He is the mastermind behind the craft beer professionals community and also a company called Secret Hopper, which we'll be talking about today. He's also one of the best connected and well-liked people in the craft beer community, so we hope you enjoy it. Let's go. Andrew, so excited to be here talking to you. Finally, not about something transactional.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love talking everything industry related, whether it's Taproom, whether it's events. I'm excited for this conversation as well, Patricia. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, I know I've known you for a very long time, first virtually, and then we got to meet face to face. That was really cool, a couple of events. But for those people who are listening and who don't know you, can you kind of talk about how you got into the space?
Yeah, hey everybody, and thanks again, Patricia and GoTab for having me. My name's Andrew Coplon. I got into the industry in 2017. I first launched a company called Secret Hopper, a mystery shopping company for breweries. The whole premise was you have to do more than make really great beer, because all of you are listening, or I'm sure making fantastic beer, but it's really all about focusing on the little things, especially in your tap room. You're running a hospitality business that can make a big difference. We launched that in 2017. Then I was actually shocked that there wasn't a place where all of us could just come together, ask questions, learn from each other, specifically online, because we have to accept it. We're spending way too much time on the internet these days. So we launched Craft Beer Professionals simply as a Facebook community where I was the only person at one point in time. And we've grown it to 18,000 people at this point in time and counting. And the goal there is to give people a place that can come, learn from others. You're not alone. We do a ton of free educational resources online, but we also do a ton of in-person workshops as well. And my life now is just constant education, connecting with people, and I'm always trying to learn. So I just love conversations like this too, because I know I'm going to learn from you today as well.
Man, that's really cool. I had no idea that Secret Hopper came before craft beer professionals. That's amazing. Well, how did you get the idea for Secret Hopper? Like, what's your craft beer origin story?
Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't in the beer industry before all this. I was a home brewer. I love visiting breweries. I had some friends in the industry. At that point in time, I ran a food service. I worked at stadiums and arenas like all over the country, and I loved what I did. One day it would be a local baseball game. The next day it would be a monster truck show at a stadium halfway across the country. And, whether I was at either of those events, the real focus was how can we make this event go smooth for the guest and the staff. And Patricia, I've always been someone who has these crazy ideas. And while at the food service, I ran the company, but I wasn't the owner. And my wife was, I don't know if victim is the right word, but she was the target of all my crazy ideas sometimes. And so she had to listen to all these creations that I would have. And I said, hey, Stacy, what if we started a mystery shopping company for breweries and we call it Secret Hopper? And this was in 2017. And she goes, and she's listening right now, I apologize. She goes, that's stupid. So, what do you do when someone challenges you? You do it. You just like, I wasn't in the beer industry. I haven't made a mystery shopping company before. I bought the domain, I planned out the business, and I knew it in my mind at that point in time. It was about more than the beer. So that just led me into the industry where I just tried to learn as much from others as I could. And it truly does feel like yesterday. I still sometimes feel like I'm new to this industry.
It's so interesting that you say that because probably some of the most ambitious things I've done because somebody told me I couldn't do it. So I can definitely
And I
relate.
wouldn't say everything that I do is because of that. Typically, that's not the reason. I probably was going to do it anyways, but it just
Yes.
makes for a good story, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so then when you now craft beer professionals, I guess my question for you is how much time do you spend on each? Because it looks like you spend a lot of time on craft beer
I
professionals.
spend way too much time on the internet. And back in the day when we first launched Secret Hopper and Crappy Professionals came a few months after, I was probably spending 80% of my time on Secret Hopper, 20% on Crappy Professionals. And I think we've flipped it now. Now it's definitely about 80% on the Crappy Professional side, about 20% on the Secret Hopper side. On the Crappy Professional side, it's so much about building relationships. I
Mm.
don't turn down a phone call, Patricia. So I'll talk to someone who has an idea for a brewery. I literally just got off a phone call with someone who I first spoke to in 2017 when they had this idea for a brewery. Now they're in California and have four locations. So I love talking to everybody, and I'm glad I truly just did have that phone call because it's the perfect example. You never know what's going to come of it or what you're going to learn, or the people that you'll meet.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I always think about you every time I have a interesting or new challenge or problem around how we engage with breweries. I'm like, you're the first person I go to because you talk to so many people and that's really valuable.
I try to be a sponge.
Yeah. So then when we talk about secret hopper, and I know I understand what secret shopping is, but can you dig a little bit more into what secret hopper is?
Yeah, it's mystery shopping for breweries. So essentially, we send in shoppers, people in your area who are going to go. They're going to have typically a flight followed by a pint and provide feedback not on your beer, but on the customer experience. It's really going to focus on the things like, were you greeted upon entry? Did the bartender offer recommendations? Till the end of the visit, did they ask you if you want beer to go? It's all about education and engagement. So we really focus on the little things that can make a big difference, not just for your guests, because obviously you want your guests to have a positive experience, but also for your staff and leadership. Because when you can make the experience more profitable for everyone involved, everybody wins. The guests are going to come back sooner, your staff's going to be happier, you're going to see more dollars on your bottom line.
Now, it's interesting. One of our internal people, Adam, who actually co-runs this podcast with me, one of the things that he mentioned to me, because when he worked in a brewery before, he said, well, when we would do that kind of thing, sometimes people would come in and give us feedback on things that we didn't really want them to. How do you make sure that the feedback is really what the operator is looking for?
So there's kind of two answers to that, Patricia. So the bulk of the feedback we collect is really objective. It's, did Patricia introduce herself today? Did she offer beer to go? It's yes, it happened, or no, it didn't happen, or here's how long it took for some action to happen. But with that said, you can get valuable and not so valuable insight anytime you allow someone to write in their own response. So we do have some free response questions that are prompts like, is there anything else the staff could do better? Would you recommend this brewery to your friends and family? Why? And when people have the opportunity to write their own feedback in there, sometimes it's, oh, amazing. I never really thought of that. And it can be really beneficial. Or sometimes it's, well, that sour wasn't sour enough. And okay, have a great day. So, but for the most part, people are dedicated to the success of our local businesses. So we get pretty quality feedback there. And take
Yeah.
anything that someone types with their fingers with a grain of salt.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So then as you've been doing this since 2017, that's almost 10 years.
Feels like a long time now,
Yeah,
yet I
yeah,
still
that's a
feel
long
so
time.
new.
Well, the industry has gone through so many changes, right? So I'm curious about how things have changed in terms of the feedback and expectations over the years. And then, separate question is like, what are the things that operators typically just have a blind spot around? Like they just consistently miss. So
Yeah,
two
I mean,
questions.
quickly about the two questions there. So the first one, how have things changed? Like I mentioned, in 2017, people weren't thinking about the experience really at all. Innovation back then was a warehouse, maybe some picnic tables out in the parking lot, and some string lights. That was all you needed in a delicious beer. Now, as we all know, it's about the experience. And the pandemic has influenced a lot of that now, but everybody's making great beer. Those who are going to succeed are those who are running strong businesses. That can literally be your differentiator. So that's changed a lot over the years, but our business model really hasn't. We're really always been focused on the hospitality side. And I'm kind of guilty of not using the word hospitality till fairly recently, honestly. Despite everything that I preach being principles of hospitality, we have to accept now that our competition isn't big beer. It's not just the brewery down the street. It's every place someone could go to spend a dollar or their time. So that's the mindset now. It's not just how you're going to be someone's favorite brewery, it's how you can become someone's favorite destination. And that's truly what it's about. And please remind me of the second question because you just got me excited about that, Patricia.
And the second question is, what are you seeing as maybe consistent blind spots?
So the first one is I've been beating this drum since literally 2017, and the industry's only gotten slightly better about it. Think about how many times you've been to a tap room with friends at a tap room. How often, this is a guessing game just for you. How often does staff encourage you to take beer home?
I don't think that's ever happened.
Gosh, so and that needs to change. So the data has gotten better over the years. I think a few years ago it happened 1 out of 5 visits. Now it's happening 1 out of 3 visits. So the industry is getting better at asking that question, but it means 2/3 of visits aren't having the staff say, "Hey Andrew, you really enjoyed that lager. You really enjoyed that saison. Would you like to take some home?" And I will literally play a game with my family and say, "I'm only going to take beer home when they ask. And unfortunately, I'm typically disappointed and I typically don't get to take beer home because what the data shows, and this is really interesting because we built up a set of over 10,000 unique taproom visits. So we can look at data over across the years and I can cite these things because a lot of these things, they make sense when you say. Of course, if you ask someone, do you want to take some home? The odds of them saying yes are more likely just because you asked them, right? So we see that when someone's not asked to take any home, they make the purchase on their own 9% of the time. So literally about 10% of the time. But when you say, hey, Andrew, hey, Patricia, do you want to take it some home? Literally nearly 50% of the time that they say yes, just by asking the question. So I would say over the years, that is probably the biggest missed opportunity I've seen across tap rooms.
Interesting. And I guess a second question just that occurs to me. Um, does it vary depending on whether the brewery has like table service or counter service, or is it pretty consistent regardless of how they serve?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We don't track the service model for all the breweries that we work with. At the end of the day, I believe whether you're counter service, whether you're table service, there should be some opportunity you can ask that question. Whether you're checking out at the bar, a server's coming to your table, or maybe there's some sort of host or hostess towards the exit with a cooler right behind you saying, "Hey, Patricia, would you like to take some home?" So I really believe you can't say, "Well, we don't have that kind of setup. We can't do it very well." You need to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah. Anything else that you kind of see as blind spots or things that people really should, it should be obvious, but they're just missing?
So this is something that all of our brewery friends don't like to do, but there's a lot of value. As a guest, I love having a flight. I love going to a new brewery and trying some beers that I haven't had before. And especially if I know I'm not going to be back for a while, or maybe they have a big rotating menu, I just want to try some new offerings. We see that while a lot of people like us, including people working in breweries, like to go to other breweries and do the same, we see taproom staff only ask a guest if they want to try a flight 25% of the time. And it's just a great way to get people to find what they want and then they enjoy. Because think about it, as we're not just attracting beer nerds these days, we're trying to attract all kinds of people who may have never even been to a brewery before, maybe have never even had a beer before. It's about finding which of those 4 or 5 options is going to resonate with them. If they go all in on a pint of something and it's a dark beer, they've never had a beer before and they don't enjoy it, they're going to be one and done and they're going to leave. But if you can educate them and walk them through the flight and get them to find something that they really enjoy, they're going to be more likely to not only spend more money, and the data shows that when you ask a guest if they want to have a flight, well, magically those tabs, Patricia, where that question is asked, $13 higher.
Hmm.
$13 higher because they found something that they wanted and they now have a reason to return. So, yeah, I would say flights are something that's my favorite. Once again, our friends at the breweries don't love them, but the value of asking it is there financially and for the relationship side.
Yeah. So the first one was around offering to go, and the other is around offering a flight. Any idea why they don't like to do it?
I mean, I think it can be annoying to pour a flight. Let's just say on a busy Saturday afternoon, you've got a line a mile long, and pouring that flight's going to be a hassle. I don't disagree with you, but brewery owners and managers out there, maybe just consider bringing in an extra staff member from 2 to 6 on a Saturday when you know that you're busy to help out with that. But I think it takes longer to pour a flight, of course, but the value you're getting per pour, the profit from it, the ability to just educate someone is definitely worth the time. On the to-go side, why aren't people doing enough? Taproom staff are doing so many different things, which I give them credit for. They're greeting guests, they're pouring beers, they're cleaning tables, they're dealing with kids these days, they're dealing with dogs. They're playing so many different roles. So there's so many things they always have to be thinking about. But we were just talking about the book Atomic Habits before we went live with this. It's about stacking all of these positive habits so they become part of your routine. You can't just tell a taproom staff member, okay, make sure you ask everybody to take some home and then expect them to have it stick from then on out. Absolutely not. You have to say, hey, this week, this month, we're going to focus on this one thing. Here's what I want you to work on. Here's what the data shows. Here's why to do it. And here's how to do it. Here's how we're going to monitor it. Then we're going to see how everybody did. And you really just got to take the time to pick the habit that you want and get it so it becomes second nature. And,
No,
that last
that's so cool. Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned the book Atomic Habits. I'll just share. You sent one to me. I'm reading it, and it's been, I guess, 2 weeks now. I've been reading it on I told you, on the train, and I'm thinking like, man, this is what I've been missing all these years. Because you try to change your habits and you're like, well, wait, like, why is this so hard? Well, the book actually explains it. And I didn't even think that you could apply it in a business setting, but that's a great example of
You
applying it.
can, and habits, they're not always going to be fun because you're probably not going to get excited to pour a flight, although you can find reasons to get excited about a flight. Oh, well, I can talk to Patricia about four different beers, see which one she likes best, get her really pumped on our brand even more. For me, one of the habits that I took away from Atomic Habits, and it wasn't even something in my professional life, I don't get a lot of time to myself. I'm always on a computer like this. I'm always hanging out with my little one and my family. I'm like, you know what? I want to wake up really early in the morning and just get my day going. And it sounded so terrible to like, I'm going to start waking up at 5 o'clock. So it just sounds terrible still to even say it out loud. But I gradually went from where I was a little after 6. Let me go back 15 minutes and 15 minutes and 15 minutes. And it took a lot of time for you to get there. But once you get there, it just becomes something that's for better or worse part of you. And people like, Andrew, why in the world do you wake up so early? But now I love it. And now I do
Yeah.
it. I mean, not saying the flight examples, apples to apples, but
Yeah.
when you get something that you can see the benefit from and you enjoy you'll find time to do it and you don't think about it as much.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring that up because I get up around 5 o'clock in the morning, but it's because I like to have that me time. No one's up, no one's bothering you, no one's asking you any questions. You can literally sit and think, and that's brilliant. Okay, so let's kind of get back to the brewery. So tell me, what do you think the best tap rooms are doing consistently today, other than offering to go and doing flights? Anything else?
I think they're really focusing on the business side. I mean, everybody's brewing really great beer. They're focusing on the financials. They're focused on the hospitality. They're focusing on events. A few years ago, we were all just breweries. Now we're restaurants. Most of us don't want to be restaurants, but we're restaurants. We're event spaces. We're beverage producers. There are those who are thinking outside the box. I think that's probably the number one trend of successful business owners, almost in any industry right now, is you're not just looking at your own industry for inspiration. You're looking to
Mhm.
all these other cool companies outside of your space. You're like, you know what? How can I take that concept and bring it into here? Because if we just keep recycling trivia nights and markets, why is anyone going to come to your tap room when they can get that anywhere? Like, what are the drivers that you're going to have that motivate people to come? Because at the end of the day, you don't want someone just coming one time and being like, okay, Patricia, I like your tap room, but next time I'm going to Andrew's. You don't want that. What reasons can you give someone to return before they even leave your tap room?
So I know we did a session with Bunnyman Brewing in at the Virginia Brewers Conference, and for me, although I wasn't there, I just got the recording. Their branding is just so incredible. Like they've really tied their brand to something local that people love, urban legend. It's just brilliant. Personally, I think being a marketer, I think breweries are the best marketers because at the end of the day, all their whole job is marketing. From the can to the ambiance to what's happening to even the guest experience, like how you interact with people, that could be a part of your brand. So I guess I'm not sure that there's a question there. It's just a comment about what does it take to get someone to come back?
I mean, storytelling is so huge in this industry right now. Like, how can you make those people on the other side of the bar your super fans? How can you make them your loyal customers? Like, think about like when I go and tell my friends about your brewery, how am I going to pitch to them in 30 seconds that gives them a sense of urgency to return? And or visit or purchase in the store. Every brewery has a different story to tell, and it's you as owners and managers who have to get your taproom staff to do it. And how can they tell it to the people across the bar? And how are they going to tell it to everyone else that they know? That's what it's really all about. Like, how are you going to be different? I used to ask brewery owners and managers, describe your taproom experience in say 5 words. And I really don't remember where I picked this up from. I thought I got it from a certain person in the industry. Then I asked them about it one day. They're like, no, that wasn't us. But so whoever taught me this technique, thank you. But so many people would say, oh, well, we want to be a welcoming space with great beer. Well, who does not want to be that? What can you say as part of those 5 words or that initial phrase that's going to give me the sense of urgency to go to your place above anyone else's? And for everyone listening, it's going to be different for all of you, but think about your strongest attributes. How can you convey that to everyone? Of course, your beer is going to be good, but for most of us, we're not even leading with beer anymore. There's a paradigm shift now. Are we a brewery that makes really or has really good food, or we a restaurant that just happens to have, our own beer made on site. Like, what's that sellable point that's going to resonate most with your customers? And it might not be the reason you got into this industry, and it might not be the pitch you thought you'd be making, but what's going to work with those in your market to get them to come to your place? And
Yeah. Well,
that's
and
fun to
I
see.
imagine it also has implications for who you hire because as someone who maybe if your heart and your passion is in the brewery and you want to add food, you need to find people who have a heart and passion for food. And also you need to find people who have a heart and passion for people and service. It really requires the full package. It's interesting. One of our other accounts, we did a webinar with Chip Shot Pickleball and they have a brewery attached. So they have a brewery, a kitchen, and then pickleball and golf simulators. And you can go in and even spend time playing, I think, table tennis, and they have a mini
Give
golf.
me a brewery that has ping pong, I'll be there all day long.
Yes, yeah, because they want an experience. I mean, the funds are limited. They're gonna when they go out, they want it to be memorable. So yeah, I think that's very valuable.
And that's why so many of us got into this industry, the community behind it. Tap rooms are places where you can sit next to someone at a table or bar. You have nothing in common to start besides that you're there to have perhaps a drink. And then you never know where that conversation will go. I mean, I love that connecting with strangers at a brewery, at a tap room is one of my favorite parts. But, I have never played pickleball, but I know a lot about pickleball just from listening to people and reading the news. And it seems like pickleball is a very, very strong community. People are going there and they're going for a reason, a similar interest, and they're hanging out with one another. And it's so cool to hear that they're adding, that place where they can consume a pint together after playing a game of pickleball to even make that community even stronger.
No, I think that's really important. And I don't play pickleball, although I've watched the growth of it and they are very intense fans. The other group that I think is very intense, and it was interesting because in my neighborhood, we've had a mall that's been kind of defunct for years now. It's been empty, like the big boxes have kind of moved out of it. And my daughter and I started walking in the mall, and the other night we realized that I would say half of the large spaces have been taken up by gaming related businesses. It's almost become the gamers mall, right? I don't know how they managed to do that, but they've collected a lot of businesses that focus on gaming and everyone's looking for like a reason to show up because it was so easy in the pandemic to just sit on your screen or sit at home. And most people at this point are kind of done with that. So, yeah, I'm sure there are many, many examples of your clients as well as people that are part of craft beer professionals that are really focusing on how to create like a third place that people want to be.
And when you create that third place and you have different activities or just food, something to get people spending longer amounts of time at your space, they're going to spend more money. They're going to build more relationships, and it's a win for everyone. And that's how your space becomes their favorite.
Yeah. All right. So I know we only have a few more minutes. I want to get through a couple more questions because I think they're good ones and I don't really want to cheat people. I'll ask you one of the hard ones. What's your biggest hospitality pet peeve?
Oh, what's my biggest hospitality pet peeve? That's a really fun one. So the initial greeting when you go into a business, I think is so important. I get frustrated sometimes when I'm not greeted. And like there's a story behind this. There's a brewery that I went to once a few years ago. They were opening and going into a space to expand my frustration when it's confusing. I hate going into a place where you don't know how things work. Do I order there? Do I sit down by myself? Where's the menu? Like to broaden it, yes, I don't like going to a space that's confusing, but I go into a space and it was very, very unclear where to order. I finally got to the ordering counter and I'm looking up at the menu and they didn't give you the information that you needed. I think it had the beer names. I don't think it had the pricing. It may or may not have even had the styles. It just had the names of the beers. So unless you knew, then you didn't know. So it was just really hard to give people what they needed. And I got to the ordering counter and the two people behind the counter, they just stared at me. They stared at me as awkwardly as it is me staring into your eyes right now, Patricia. They didn't say a word. They waited for me to speak. It was so weird. Then finally, I'm like, okay, well, I'll have two half pours of those two things, which I kind of heard of before. They weren't guiding me along at all. And then they gave me these two half pours, and I didn't make this up. I asked which was which, and they were both hazy IPAs. They couldn't tell me.
I couldn't tell
I
you.
really don't like it when you don't get the tools you need to have a successful experience.
Yeah, no, that's such a great example.
It
It's fun.
irks me.
Well, it's so interesting, and this is not a brewery experience, but I can still talk about things that aren't breweries. But I go into this coffee shop, which is new, across the street from us. I pick up the menu, and the print is so small that I can't see it. I have to take my glasses off to see it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I get to the counter. It's loud in there, and it's almost like they have like a Martha Stewart kind of branding. I feel like I've walked into somebody's living room. Like it's just so like
I'm
over.
intrigued.
Yeah, it's very over designed and it's fine. So I paid my $5. When I ordered a cappuccino, I spent almost $6. I stand at the pickup window. He gives me the cup and it's clearly not full. Like it's much, much less full than you would. It's very noticeable. So I'm trying to be nice. I say, well, is there is what size is this? And he says to me, we ran out of the smaller cup, so I gave you a bigger cup. Now, had I been in that situation, I think I would have filled the cup.
That's
Or
hospitality.
that's hospitality. Fill the cup. No one wants to see, like, it's true that they ran out of small cups, which, as far as I'm concerned, is atrocious because a cup is like, come on, a commodity. But fill the cup. Give people what they feel like
Yeah.
they.
It's
So
their perception. Something as simple of filling a little bit higher and say, hey, we were out of smalls, but we gave you a large cup. Oh my gosh, I'm so
100%.
lucky. Versus,
Yes.
hey, that looks a little empty. It just doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good. So, of course, you know what I did? I put a message in the Slack channel here at GoTab. When I came back, I said I'm going to start my shade campaign so nobody goes there anymore. People do that. It's personal. I gave you my money. You're supposed to deliver me your product. And it was like he didn't even care. What his opportunity to fix it was when I asked about it. He could have very well said, "Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I know that looks, let me just give you a little bit more." That's all he had to say.
So
So
to
that,
relate this to beer, because of course I have some data on this. Like when someone goes to a tap room for the first time, and we rate how they perceive, the guests perceive the level of engagement from low, neutral, moderate to high. If they go somewhere and they receive a low level of engagement on that first visit, they are only 45% likely to recommend and return it to their friends. So they're less than 50% likely to share that experience. And if they do, it's probably not going to be positive. So that means unless you are dragging me back, I'm not going back. But if you go to that coffee shop, you go to that tap room, you go to that restaurant the first time, and you feel connected to the person on the other side, the person, engaging with you, as a first time guest, you are 99% likely to recommend it and tell your friends and family about it. So
yeah.
it goes a
Yeah.
long way.
Well, it's great that you have data to support it. I knew it intuitively, but that the data tells the story. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple more things. What taproom trend do you hope never goes away?
What taproom trend do I hope never goes away? And I love that taprooms now are more likely to have food. I've been preaching that one for a few years now, and the data shows that when people in a tap room order food versus experience when they don't have food, they're spending over 80% more total. So the numbers speak to it. But
Mhm.
I can go somewhere with my friends, my family, all of us, and instead of like, okay, we've got our drink, where are we going to have dinner? It's all under one roof. I know for all of you listening, it takes a lot of work. Patricia, you mentioned having to have an expert who understands how to run a food operation. That's so important. But I think when you can capture that attention, and I don't think we're going back to not having food. I just love that it's becoming a part of most taproom experiences, even if it's just like some fancy snacks. Give me some tapas, give me some small plates as I'm trying a flight. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But, I love that taprooms are now having food, and I hope we never take that away.
Nice. All right. So then what trend do you hope does go away?
What trend do I hope goes away? You sent me the list ahead of time. This is the one I should have said I wasn't prepared for. What do I hope goes away? You know, I'm gonna give you like a cop out answer on that one because every tap room has their own unique establishment and everything that they're doing hopefully works for them. All these unique beverages, when breweries started doing seltzers a few years ago, most people didn't like seltzers. But if seltzers are resonating with your audience, keep doing seltzers. everything that happens, I think we need to find ways to engage. And I know GoTab does a lot of QR codes, and you all do so much with these cool hybrid experiences. I think that's the important thing, not just, bringing in the technology, but finding ways your staff can come in there and do that. So just because you might be using some sort of technology doesn't mean your team doesn't have to do the work. They can still be your biggest advocates. It's just finding the right way to do it. So I hope people are using technology correctly and with the right human touch as well. But with regards to that, it's fun to throw spaghetti at the wall and just see what sticks. So if something
I have
doesn't
two
work for
answers.
you, say
Yeah,
what?
I have two answers. And then
Oh,
you
wow. Yeah.
agree with these. Okay, number one, I think lines should go away. I don't like waiting in line for anything.
Okay. Yes, in a perfect world, line should go away.
I
100%
think
agree.
I definitely think lines should go away.
That's a great suggestion there. It's, yeah, how can we get everybody connected? How can we get them feeling like they're a part of this, even if it's their first time? And I think it really comes down to the staff and your guests who will become, representatives of your brand because they're showing up. They're loyal to you. They stand for what you do. They're intentionally coming there.
Yeah, and I also think and this is on the plus side, the fact that they've become so dynamic and so flexible in what you can do. You can have a wedding at a brewery, you can have, a business meeting at a brewery, you can have a sip and paint, you can have yoga. I mean, there's so many. I love that they're able to kind of flex to what the community really needs. So, not that my opinion matters as much, but because you've got the
No,
experience.
all your suggestions are great and kind of going on like all the events you just mentioned. I wish breweries continue to lead in more into being event spaces. Public events, private events, seasonal events, one-off events, recurring events. Really lean into your events program. And in doing so, you're going to attract audiences that may have not discovered your taproom before. So it's a great way to kind of bring in those people for their first experience.
Yes, and I have a shameless plug. We just did a webinar with Triple Seat and Other Half Brewing, Joy Rockenbuck at Other Half, and I think you know her.
Joy's great,
She's so
as is the whole team
knowledgeable.
at Other Half. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, she's just so knowledgeable about the way that they've scaled their events, and it's on our website, so people can go and check it out. Okay, so last two questions.
Okay.
Uh, if you could give every brewery operator one challenge for the next 30 days, what would it be?
Yeah, pick a habit you want your taproom staff to do. Whether it's always greet the guests, whether it's always ask for a flight, whether it's always, say, hey, would you like another beverage? Whether it's say, hey, would you like to take some to go? Pick that metric and habit you want to get good at. Challenge your staff. Don't just say whoever sells the most is going to get a reward. I do think you should offer some sort of motivation, but figure out individually what each team member wants because everybody's working in your tap room for a different reason. Some people are there because it's a college job. Some people are there because they want to own their own brewery someday. Some people are there just to make a buck. So you have to really figure out their own motivation, figure out what's going to motivate them to work on that habit over the next month. Share the data we've talked about today. If there's any data you want, feel free to reach out to me and we can get that data so you can use it as, proof why these things work, but get them excited about it. Look at the POS system and see how things work. That way they can look at the metrics to monitor and really just ingrain that this is a habit worth your time. So pick that one habit. In 30 days, you're going to be better at it.
Okay, and then where can people plug into craft beer professionals and learn about Secret Hopper?
Yeah, I spend way too much time on the internet, and I hopefully we'll get to disconnect in a little bit this weekend, have a nice pint in my local tap room. But you can learn more at Secret Hopper at secrethopper.com. And for craft beer professionals, our hub is our Facebook community of over 18,000. Just search Craft Beer Professionals on Facebook, or you can learn more at craftbeerprofessionals.org.
Awesome. All right, so do you have any other random data points that people are going to really enjoy learning about?
So this falls into the category of we don't talk about it or use it enough. Everything I talk about is hospitality, education, and engagement. One of the best data points that you have that you can access literally right now is tip percentage. You can go to your POS system and look at tip percentage because the odds are if I'm behind the bar and I'm getting an average tip of 17%, Patricia's behind the bar in other shifts and getting an average tip of 27%, she's engaging at a much higher level because we see that guests spend more when they're just engaged with at a higher level. So monitor tip percentage there. I definitely recommend that.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. And any final thoughts or for GoTab customers, for the world?
Yeah, I mean, to see greater success now, we really need to be focused on that taproom experience. This is where you can make the most profit. So, as a thank you for having me today, and because I appreciate all the conversations, all that GoTab does, and because you're a GoTab customer listening today, you receive a free secret hop. And what that means is we are going to send a shopper into your taproom to provide feedback on your customer experience. That'll give a snapshot of how well your team and your staff are engaging. We would love to do that for you. And you can just simply reach out to andrew@secrethopper.com. Say you heard me on the GoTab podcast, and we'll get that set up for you.
Well, that's amazing, Andrew. I really enjoyed talking to you today. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome, Patricia. See you soon, and enjoy the rest of the Atomic Habits on the Metro.
All right, thanks. Well, that was awesome. This has been the Behind the Tab podcast, sponsored by GoTab. If you'd like to learn more about us, you can always reach out to us at gotab.com. And we want to thank Andrew for having taken the time to give us so many insights from his many years of experience with craft beer professionals and Secret Hopper. And we look forward to dropping our next episode next Thursday.